prosperity has confused people. And so today, we are going to look at the biblical side of it. Because there is a biblical truth that God is promising prosperity. It goes like this. God promises real prosperity to those who would obey Him with diligence and generosity. You can claim the promise of prosperity in your life if there are a few things true about you. And so today, we're going to dig into the Bible. We're not just going to spout off some philosophical stuff. If you look at your note sheet there, you're going to see there are tons of Bible passages we're going to look at. There are heaps of Bible passages. We're going to go through a whole lot of them because I want to help you understand both the promise and the requirements and the perspective necessary for us to understand what this promise is really all about. So I know that all of you were on time this morning. But since we're actually an hour earlier than usual, I figured I'd just go to my regular time. Is that all right? I'm just kidding. I won't really go that long. But we are going to cover a lot of ground, so you're going to have to hang tight with me. First of all, some examples of prosperity. I just put them down. You can look them up this week and do a little bit of study on them if you want. But I'll tell you, Abraham is the first guy we find who is a huge recipient of the promise of prosperity. God says to Abraham in Genesis 12, He says, I will bless you and you will be a blessing. All the nations on earth will be blessed through you. And so if all the nations are going to be blessed through him, that means he's got to get some pretty good blessing, right? Because that blessing has got to be big, big, big so it can spread all the way out. So that's the first time we encounter Abraham. But when you get to Genesis 17, we see another account where God says specifically to Abraham, He says this, if you walk before me and live blamelessly, I will confirm my covenant with you and bless you greatly. So He gives a little bit of a prerequisite there. If you walk with me and live blamelessly, then I will fulfill the rest of the covenant that I've already said to you. At that time, Abraham was already rich. God had blessed him quite significantly before he ever got to Genesis 17. The next guy is Joshua. And if you read Joshua chapter 1, verses 7 and 8, you're going to see God say, be strong and very courageous. Do not be afraid to keep everything that my servant Moses wrote down in the law. He says, do not turn from the law to the right or to the left. And if you keep my law faithfully, you will be successful and prosperous wherever you go. Now, I think that's a pretty cool promise. Too bad God gave it to Joshua. You know, if God gave that to everybody, well, actually, He did. We'll see that in just a little bit. But one last person to look at, King Solomon. In the book of 1 Kings, we find King Solomon. He's David's son. He's the third king of ancient Israel. And God comes to Solomon in a dream, and He says to Solomon, what do you want me to do for you? Now, if God said that to you, what would you say? You know, like a genie coming up to you saying, you know, you get one wish. What do you want? Well, of course, I'd wish for more wishes. You know, multiply it or something like that. But, you know, so God says to Solomon, what one thing do you want me to do for you? And Solomon says, make me wise so I can govern your people faithfully. And God is so impressed that He says, because you asked me for wisdom and not wealth or honor, I will give you both. I will give you wisdom and I will give you wealth and honor. And if you obey me, I will give you a long life as well. By all accounts, Solomon was the richest ancient king among all kings. He had at one point in time an annual income equivalent to about $500 million today. Annually. Now, of course, he had a big kingdom. He had a lot of people. He had 1,000 wives and concubines. So, I mean, that's a lot of people to take care of. And so that money went pretty quickly, I imagine. But he had $500 million annual income. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But so you've got these three guys, at least, in the Old Testament, who are recipients of a great amount of wealth and prosperity and a great amount of promise from God. So let's look at some of the Old Testament principles that go behind it. I call them Old Testament prosperity guidelines. Here's guideline number 1. Devotion to God's word brings prosperity. Devotion to God's word brings prosperity. I printed Psalm 1:1-3 on your note sheet, so look at that with me. It says, "Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He's like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers." What an incredible promise. Whatever he does prospers. Whatever this person does prospers. And there are two prerequisites. Did you see them? Two prerequisites. Prerequisite number one, this person avoids the bad people. You know, the people who would distract him from God's law, God's will. And he invests fully, day and night, day after day, night after night, in delighting in God's word. He spends time in God's word, delights in it. It's the part, it just fills his heart. It's everything he wants, everything he desires. And so he avoids the bad guidance, and he pays attention to God's law, and the end result is he will be prosperous like a tree with roots down deep into water, that no matter what the economy or the world around it is doing, it can still flourish. Wouldn't you like to have a life like a tree? A life like that where you can just be strong and flourishing no matter what's going on? No matter what's going on around you? I tell you what, I think that's good enough to make me want to be devoted to God's word. But look at this next verse. Deuteronomy 15:4-5 says this. God is speaking, he says, "However, there should be no poor among you, for in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess as your inheritance, he will richly bless you, if only you fully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all these commands I'm giving you today." You see that? God is asking for devotion. If you fully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all these commands, I will richly bless you. And this is so rich, the blessing is so rich that God can say there should be no poor among you. I'm going to bless you so much that if there is someone who's poor, all the rest of you can take care of that person, so there should be no poor. If God is going to bless a people so much that there's no poor among them, there's got to be quite a significant amount of blessing being poured out, wouldn't you say? Devotion to God's word brings prosperity. The second promise, second part of